Hello, welcome back everyone. So we are going to talk about class A, class B, class C, then public range. What are the public range we have IP, and what are the private range of IP? What do you mean by public range of IP, as well as where to use private range of IP? Okay, so let's quickly what we studied last class. We saw there is two things. There is unicast IP address, right? Unicast, sorry. So there is a unicast IP range. So that's belong to the nothing that is called class A, class B, and class C. These are belong to unicast IP. Okay, and we saw the range. The range belong to, like this start from where 0 to
One.
127, where the 0 and 27 is reserved, means we have range from 1 to 126 IP. And then class B we have range 128 to 191, and then class C start from 192 to 223. Okay, this is I'm talking about first octet of that class. Okay, then I saw there is a multicast range of IP, right? We saw multicast range of IP, that is class D, and that's belong to 2242. Tell me, 2
239.
239. Excellent, thank you. So you remember that. So these are three are unicast. We going to concentrate throughout the world. They're going to use the unicast IP, and you will see the multicast IP also, but later on. So we're going to concentrate on unicast IP range. Now, before moving to the public and private IP addressing, before that, let's practice few of IP address. What we have to practice, you have to identify the IP address, what I'm going to write, that is valid or not. Okay, so this test only for you have to check that IP is valid or not. If it's valid, you have to say yes, this is valid IP. If not, it's not a valid IP. Let me write few IPs. So I'm going to write 192.168.400.5/24. So tell me, this is the valid IP or not?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay, how it's a valid IP? Can you see the 400? This octet range supposed to be 2 to 55. So
Yeah.
never be a octet greater than 55. So this is a valid IP or not?
No, no.
No, no, sir.
No. Okay. Now let me ask another. It's a very easy. Concentrate. 200.200.256 is the valid IP or not?
246.
256.
256. No, sir. It cannot be.
Okay, this is not a valid IP.
Yeah.
Now tell me 0.0.0.0. Is this valid IP or not? This is a valid IP.
Yeah, it is a first class.
Yes, it's the first IP which is used for different purpose, but this is the valid IP. Okay, clear guys? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now you have to tell me the IP belong to which class. Okay, I'm going to write now. 100.100.100 slash which class belong to? Tell me.
Class A.
Class A. Manmohan, what about this? Is it belong to class A?
Yes, sir. Because the first class range is 0 to 127, no?
Ah, excellent. This is class A. 200.200.200. Tell me this belong to which class?
Class C.
Mohini, what about you? It
Sir,
belong
class
class?
C.
Okay, excellent guys. So I'm done for this just for testing purpose whether you are revising or we are on the same page. Now we understand the IP, valid IP address. We understand valid class, which classes belong to. Now let's understand what do you mean by public IP and there is something called private IP. And how do you identify? So how many class we have? Class A, I'm talking about Unicast one. What
3
we are
class.
talking about?
Unicast.
Unicast. So we have how many classes? Class
3.
A, class B, and class C. So we know the class range. Let me write here range. I'm writing the first octet only. So it's belong to 1 to 126. And then next one is belong to 128 to 191. And last one start from 190 goes to the 23. Right guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So how do you identify that the IP belong to private or public IP? First, try to identify, then we will understand the use of public and private. Okay? So there is a reserve for the private. They reserve from every class one range of IP address. Like for class A, they reserve the IP address 10.0.0.0.0. This entire this set is reserved for class. So one IP from class A is reserved for what? Private. Okay. Now for public, sorry, for private IP address for B range 172.16.x.x means anything till it will go third. So means we have class B address. Okay, how many? 16 IP address for class B that start from 170.16 to 170.31. Period.
Yes, sir.
So how many class B? 16 class B IP reserved for private. How many class A? One only. Uh, what about class C, sir? So we have class C range. I'm going to write. What I'm going to take another color so that you are able to identify. 192. 192 is the range is 190.168.0.x slash 24. This is start and this will go to 55.x. means 190.16 dot. So how many IP? 250 range. So you understand the range?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now rest all the IP apart from these all IP, rest all the IP belong to the public. Belong to the public. So range you understand? Let's understand the why they separate from public private. So reason regarding for public IP you have to buy the IP. It's a payable. Means all the IP internet IP are the public IP. So you want to communicate over internet, you cannot use the private IP. Need to buy public. Dear guys.
Yes, sir.
But if you want to use the IP within your organization, because you don't want to communicate outside the world, so you can run your company or your organization or your lab or whatsoever you want to do within the LAN WAN, you can use the private IP address, or you need private IP. Okay, for IP address for the communication. So these are the free private IP address are free. You can use. Okay, and public IP you have to pay. You have to buy those IP from the public crowd. Then only they can able to communicate between the public internet. So you understand? So entire lab, whatever you going to test on the lab, you will see the IP going to use from this range only. Okay. The IP not belong to this range, those who are public IP. Period. Edge. Understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let's move to the some lab where we understand how this IP address going. So we have done the lab. So today we're going to do do you remember in last class we have done the communication between.
Yes, sir. Yes.
We have done that lab. No, PC to PC we have not done the lab, right?
PC to PC to PC have done, na, sir.
Okay, we will check the stuff and we will confirm. Before that, what we going to today? Let me open the static routing connected this lab we have. Okay, do you have this lab ready, guys? Do you remember the setup
No,
we?
sir, but I will do in 5 minutes, sir. So can I do?
Okay, not right now. Later on, you do. Just you remember we have done this.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
so let's understand this topology. Okay, so we have everywhere we have one DSCP LAN. Okay, I think I have to go for the beginning, not this one. Let me move this topology. Let me do this top. We're going to start a new topology. Let me open new one. You want first? I okay. So I'm going to quickly set up one lab, and only you have to concentrate here to understand. If you are not able to understand, you can ask me the question. Okay? It's a very basic one. So what are we going to study? Apart from this, we study the public and private IP address. We understand. In the upcoming class, we will do the subnetting. We will see how we going to break the big network into the small network according to our utilization. That's called subnetting. And why do we need upcoming classes? So today we have basic lab for the accessibility. What is called access? This access for what? This access to router, to usage. Okay, so I don't understand what do you mean by this. This access called management access. Management access. What do you mean by that? Let me tell you. Then we will come back to theory. So suppose I took one router. Try to understand here. I took one router 9041, another router 2900 series. I'm going to write those model. I'm going to click that, go to config and write that model, because by model you're going to remember that will be the best. So this is, I'm going to write here this router R1, and I will give the model 91, this router. Okay, same, I'm going to copy the model. Now second router going to configure, because I take 900 series router, I will give router R2, and the series will be 2900.01. Same thing I'm going to configure as a host name. Now open the. So are you able to see my screen, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The question is that this is, as soon as I will click on this, there is a screen pop up, right? So this is called simulation. But in real time, if you touch your router, there is a screen going to open or not? No. How do you access this? This is part called console access. How do you get access in real router? So this is the simulator where you can do the virtually. You can just click here, the screen is open and you can configure that part, right? Yes, no.
Yes, sir.
But in real time, how do you access that device? Suppose you purchase 190-40 series router, how are you going to access? How are you going to configure that? That is a one box. Okay, so let me show you. That's a command called show users. You can see here console. Can you see CON0? Are you able to see?
Yes, sir.
This is called console line. Means as soon as you click on the box, will open console. But real time, suppose you purchase one switch. Okay, this is your box or router. Purchase a router. That's the model is 1941 model. Okay, that is there. What we purchase, you can see 1941. Now I want to access this box. How do you access? So there is something called console. What is called console cable? It's called console cable, and there is called console port. That console port having specific made for connect access that device using the PC, using the laptop, desktop. So you have to connect your PC with using the console cable to that device to the management access. MGMT. What do you mean by MGMT? Management. What's the full form? Management. Management means you want to do any configuration, you need to connect your PC. Okay, but in simulation in Cisco packet tracer, they make very easy. Just you click that or connect it to. Okay, so we will see how to connect real time. How you going to do? So they given you one box 9041 series of router. How do you access this? So let's go to we need one laptop or desktop. I'm a field engineer. I have one laptop. I want to access this device. I need to connect what cable? Tell me which cable? Console. I just console cable. Let me Let me know which cable is a console cable.
Blue, blue one, no?
Yes, no, this one.
Blue,
Blue one is a coaxial cable. This is console cable. You can see, click that. I'm going to connect. So we have console port. Can you see?
Yes, sir.
There is a console port. There is a gig port. These two gig actual traffic. This console for management, auxiliary for management. There is a auxiliary port also. I will teach later what is the use of auxiliary. Console port today we going. Console port going to connect with the console cable. Then this console cable connect to my PC. So PC having fast Ethernet. Generally you connect the router switch with the fast Ethernet for the communication. But I don't want communication. I want access this router. I want this router to configure. So for management access of the router, we have to connect with the port called RS232. What port is? RS. I'm going to connectivity. Now you open your laptop in real time. After connecting console cable to your device, you will go to your laptop, go to desktop. There is called terminal. Okay, in terminal, so already configure this part. If it's not configured, you have to configure your laptop terminal. Once you have done this, okay, as soon as you click, your terminal will pop up with this. Can you see? Yes. So you are able to see this
Yes, sir.
router accessibility on your right. So engineer work on laptop, not on router. They connect with the interior.
No, sir.
So generally in data center, you are L1 engineer, support engineer, you will be hired to give the access of the router. So how you going to the access of the router? You have to connect the console cable to that router and then connect to your PC on the PC activity. This is the real. In the real time, if you click your router, it will not open any screen because there is no terminal. This is for simulation. Really, you have to connect your PC. This part is clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, this is one part how to access your device you told. Now, you are promoted as a L2 engineer. to become the L2 engineer. And L2 engineer are sitting on like University of University of Mumbai. And one of the site in the Nagpur, there is one site in Nagpur. They purchase one device, router 91. They say that you are L2 engineer, you need to configure because he don't know anything. This engineer who is working in Nagpur, having device in Nagpur, they don't know how to configure. You are L2 engineer, you have to configure. Now you are in Mumbai. Tell me, how do you configure this device?
Sir, by laptop.
Okay, so you going to ask this person bring the console cable from Nagpur to Mumbai. So that's not, that is called remote access. What is called?
Remote
Remote access.
access.
Remote access means,
Access the IP.
sorry, the Santanu?
Yes.
Yes, welcome. Welcome back, Santanu. Okay. So
Yeah.
how do you access that?
IP access of
Okay,
that device.
remote access. There is a two method to remote access. So that is called, first we saw the console access. Console access, you have to be there on that site, locally or physically available with that device. If you are remotely available, so you have remote access of device. So there is two technique which is called remote access, that is called telnet. Have you heard about telnet?
Yes, sir.
And second called SSH, secure cell, and it's called secure cell. So we will do one by one. So this telnet is work on the port. Anyone, do you know which port is working? 23, port number 23. You have to remember for interview for purpose. Telnet
Policy
work
check.
on the port number 20. And SSH work on which port number? Port number. We will see what the significance of this port in upcoming classes. Today we will configure the device so that remotely some engineer who is sitting, they can access the telnet. This is the first case. Then we will move. Why do we need secure cell? Okay, so why do we need? This is the another advanced method to remotely access your device. Remotely. So first we understand that. Okay, so you understand theory part. We should move for the. So my session going to be quite lengthy session. So I'm going to stop here. I'm going to cover this topic. Bye bye.